Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's your favorite dark sorcerer. Today, I'd like to discuss witchcraft from, say, for example, the medieval time era versus the New Age wannabes. Okay. Um, First of all, much of the white light practitioners today that say they study witchcraft, such as Wiccan and pagan, they really do not follow anything that is ritualized. And this is something that really needs to be said and something that really needs to be spoken on. Because of the fact that I've gone to so-called rituals by Wiccans, pagans, and those who practice Wicca. Three different philosophies. But in reality, they are one and the same. Now, the only difference between Wicca and Wiccan practices and that of paganism is a broad term. Paganism is more worldwide. They have a lot of different aspects from Norse, Greek, Egyptian, Gypsy, you name it. Those who deal with the god and goddess, okay, within the earth thought form of rituals, such as herbalism. People who get in touch with their fundamental side, I guess you could say. Now, here's where it's going to get interesting. As I stated, I've gone to these so-called white light practitioners, their rituals, such as the Temple of the Feminine Divine, okay, and that of the Pagan Pride Association. Their rituals are more watered down. They're more for, well, it's kind of like a children's bedtime story. You know how you play with your kids? It's more of the fact that you make funny sounds, especially with infants to toddlers, just to get them to laugh and to get that emotional response from them. It is the exact same way. They'll face the east, howl like the moon, okay, or howl like the wolf. They'll go to the north and howl and go hoo 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 like a freaking owl, and then they sit there and dance around a thing of leaves. This is not the way that witchcraft used to be. Witchcraft used to be where if there was no guts, there was no glory. Okay? And there are many works to actually back this up. Not only has it been recorded in mythology, but it has also been recorded in grimoires, historical moments. Nicholas Remy, in his book Demonolatry, an ancient account of witchcraft, literally spoke of items found on accused witches. Whereas Reginald Scott's discovery of witchcraft points out the witcher's hammer aspects, dealing with both demons and angels, the spirits and the things that witches were said to commune with. Okay? And that's the difference between those two authors, those two practitioners of two very different timetables. Okay? Now, let's take it back to the Dark Ages. Okay? The Dark Ages was a very interesting time for witches. They dealt in necromantic rituals, spiritual conjurations. They worked with alchemy. They worked with astrology and numerology in the planetary systems. Okay? A lot of you have probably heard the term seven. Okay. The seventh son from the seventh son, or that of, say, for an example, 7 planets, 7 colors, 7 archangels. Okay. 7 is a very powerful number that predates the Judeo Christian society or the Hebraic systems themselves. Okay. Along with these watered down white light practitioners that we hear about today, that we see today. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to read some things off to you, and I'm going to give you some references. Okay. Now, I've got 2 different notebooks here that I'm going to be reading from. Okay. Now, the first one is the representations. Okay. Saturn. The correspondence is the color black. Jupiter, blue. Mars, red. Sun, yellow. Venus, green. Mercury, mixed in. It's more a mixture of colors because of all the elements that are included in the planet. And then you have the moon, which is silver. Okay. The first pentacle of Saturn brings terror to the spirits. The second pentacle of Saturn stands against adversities of spirits. Okay. Whereas the third pentacle of Saturn deals with the, how should I say this, the circle of empowerment. And I've said this before, that the circle that is placed around a pentagram is not a circle of protection. It's a circle of empowerment. It amplifies your magic. Today's practitioners of Wicca and Wiccan practices will tell you, oh, you need a circle of protection. Really? Where the hell did that come from? It's just an offshoot of a very old tradition of being inside of a circle, especially that of, say, for an example, the triangle of evocation, okay, which is a triangle, either verted or inverted, in a circle, where you evoke a spirit into yourself, or you can invoke them through a circle of protection, or not a circle of protection, but a circle of empowerment into a triangle, okay, known as the triangle of evocation, okay, to where they manifest in that triangle, okay, and many grimoires actually speak to this, okay. So the circle of empowerment and the use therein can be utilized at night while invoking the spirits. Okay, that's the third pentacle of Saturn. The fourth pentacle of Saturn deals with the experiments and the operations of destruction rituals. Basically, the principality aspect. The fifth pentacle of Saturn is, how should I say this? It chases away bad spirits who guard the treasures, okay? The sixth pentacle of Saturn, possession of those who call up or pour salt upon people, okay? They basically, that's what they call the doom stall out, basically. But then you have the seventh pentacle of Saturn, power over universe, okay? Now, here's the funny thing. When we get into the correspondences, as I said, the belief structures, the differences between them. Today, witches will utilize a pentagram, okay? And I'm going to kind of bring this down so you can actually see it. You notice the pentagram, okay? The pentagram is the 5 elements enshrouded in the circle, okay? Now, I'm going to read off their correspondences to you because I want you to understand the old way of thinking. I mean, I'm talking the days of cuneiform, not English, but medieval Latin, okay, known as cuneiform, Okay. Now, the sun represents diamonds or topaz set in a gold plated setting. Notice my ring. Okay. Gold. All right. The moon, pearl or crystal or quartz set in silver. Okay. Again, right here. Okay. Mercury, opal, or agate set in quicksilver. Venus, emerald, or can't even speak tonight. Turquoise. Yeah, like I said, I can't speak tonight. Um, Set in copper. Mars, ruby, or any red stone set in iron. Okay. Jupiter, the Sophine, the Amherst, or cornelian set in tin. Saturn, onyx, or sapphire set in lead. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you the same thing, but what they actually represent and stand for in the old way of thinking. Okay. For an example, the sun for gaining money or support of powerful people. I'm talking calling on government officials. I'm talking about becoming friends with kings, queens. I'm talking friends like Donald Trump. Okay. I know a lot of you are stand against Trump. I mean, I get that. It's just an example. Okay. So don't fly off the hinges there because I mentioned his name. Okay. The moon, necromancy, chiromancy, lust, and is it reconciliation. Okay. Mercury, knowledge, divination. Okay. Think cartomancy. Any form of ritualized divination that calls on the past, present, and future. Okay. Then you have deceit, commerce, and business, theft. Okay. Venus, lust, love, pleasure, and friendship. Mars, destruction, hatred, discord, necromantic practices for military usage. Mostly it's based off, say, for an example, murdered people, things like, think of all the murdered witches throughout the burning times, okay? The holy wars, the dark ages. You know, people who are accused of witchcraft that were murdered very, very violently over religious belief systems, okay? For domination, okay? Or just simply getting rid of somebody that's harmed you. Okay. A lot of these powerful people were just looking to get rid of their enemies, so they accused them of witchcraft. Okay. And Mars was always the planet that this happened under. Its planetary alignment within astrology was primary, being the waning moon or the waxing moon. Okay. The darker shade of this was a perfect time to cast these dark destruction rituals of ridding yourselves of your enemies. Okay, whereas coming up to the full moon or that apex of the planetary alignment was good for calling on the polar opposite, which was bringing people to you, bringing creation to you instead of destruction. Okay, so you see where the waning and the waxing moon comes in. And then you have Jupiter, the Commonwealth, gaining wealth, good health, friendships, or becoming invisible. Saturn. Saturn is a huge thing. And depending on the alignment, depending on, how should I say this, your philosophy, your religion, even your belief structure, okay, it really did align with curses, hexes, demonic sorceries, chiromancy, calling up on spirits and demons and souls from hell to rid yourself of your enemies. Obtaining knowledge through chiromancy, even the Kabbalah. Saturn shows the seven forces of stability and inertia, which is awesome. Okay, and there's a few books that actually goes into this very topic. Okay, and a couple of them literally talk about what is known as the seven Olympic spirits, and I've talked about them in the past. Okay, the seven Olympic spirits are Eraton, Bathor, Phaleg, Och, Haggith, Ophiel, and Fuel. Okay, and here's the thing: a lot of these religions, such as the Hebraic systems, had to put a name to the devil. Okay, so they started aligning them with demons. Okay, the gods of old, or the energies of old, became known as angels, which later became known as demons. Okay, and this is something for you to actually ponder and actually research for yourself, is because Eraton represents Saturn, Bethor, Jupiter, Phaleg, Mars, Och, the Sun, Haggith, Venus, Ophiel, Mercury, and Fuel, the Moon. Okay, now I'm going to give you some references just on this so you can actually go out and take a look for yourself. Now, the first one is called The True Black Magic, La Véritable Magie Noire, okay? A classic grimoire, edited and translated by Joseph H. Peterson, okay? And it looks like this. I do recommend this to you because it not only talks a lot about sigilliums, but it also talks a lot about the works, the rituals. It talks about the demons. It brings them up in a form of true black magic, okay, or what is now classified as black magic workings. Okay, it goes into runes, alphabets, and sigilliums and pentacles, much in the same way as the 30 Aries. Okay, now another one is this book here, The Black Arts by Richard Cavendish. Okay, he really goes into a lot of detail, from numerology, astrology. He deals with metals. He deals with the elements. And he goes into a lot of different things, from physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. He goes into the actual practices of casting circles, making designs such as the witch's tablet, okay, which is nothing more than numerology or alphabets, okay, being placed in them. Certain designs. Okay, let me see if I can clarify there. See what I mean? So I do recommend Richard Cavendish. I own all 3 editions of his book, The Black Arts, because even though the writing style is a little bit different, all 3 bring something to the table. So I do recommend that you get his books. The next book is called The 3 Books of Occult Philosophy by Henry Cornelius Agrippa. Okay, now Agrippa was one of those type of practitioners that was more about alchemy. Okay, much in the same way as Francis Barrett, who came after him. Okay, Francis Barrett literally wrote the book called The Magus. Okay, part 1 and part 2. Now, my brother Brian ended up getting his hands on part 2, and he sent that to me in PDF format. And after reading that, I flashed right back to Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy, because that's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of the alchemy. It reminded me of the actual practices like herbalism. It talked a lot about making talismans, amulets, orcrocs. Okay, the rings, the magical rings. I mean, this is old school type witchcraft, people. Okay. So, in the 3 books of occult philosophy, he not only describes each thing from the occult virtues of things to, say, for an example, whence the occult virtues of things proceed. Now, let's go up a few pages here. How we may draw not only celestial and vital, but also certain intellectual and divine gifts from above. Okay, so now we're getting into not only the spiritual aspects, but we're getting into the physical. We're getting into the alchemical, the herbalism. We're getting into the metals of the earth. Now, one thing about this book here is that in, I want to say it's chapter 18, it talks a lot about the 7 original metals, the rarest of metals. Now, those of you who are associated or even recognize the name of E.A. Coetting, also known as Eric Coetting, okay, who basically is one of the founders of How to Become a Living God, okay, that franchise. In his altar room, he has the 7 metals in the shape of an inverted pentagram. Okay. Now, each of these metals, as I've already listed, represent a certain planetary figure. Okay. But it also applies itself to one of the 7 Olympic spirits. Okay. One of the 7 forbidden practices. Okay. And that is something that you need to take note on. Okay. Now, another one here that speaks about talismans. What teaches on the elements and how to conjure spirits. It's called the Black Pullet. And it looks like this. Okay. The Black Pullet deals with a lot of things like designs, sigilliums, runes, letters, alphabets, stuff like that, and the metals, okay, that you can forge from the earth, utilizing both fire and water and cooling it down with air, okay? And that's something that is very, very interesting. So again, we're dealing with the elements, we're dealing with the metals, we're dealing with physical alchemy, okay? And this is that book, okay? And I do recommend the Black Pullet to you. And even though a lot of these books deal with the names of God or the Hebraic systems, another one of these books is called The Clavicle of Solomon, okay? And the Clavicle of Solomon, or Solomonus, deals with demons, deals with angels and spirits. This book here not only talks to you about physical rituals and utilizing names, powerful names, but it also shows you, again, okay, sigils, glyphs, alphabets, and runes, okay? Deals with the planetary devil traps, if you wish, but more on the format of planetary designs that can be utilized through the 7 planets, or what is considered the 7 planetary figures. Okay? And that is something to take into consideration as well, because it is very, very interesting. And the last book I'm going to show you before I get into the next notebook is this one here. The Book of Black Magic by Arthur Edward White. Okay? Arthur Edward White not only goes into the layout of rituals, but also the same thing, dealing with glyphs, rings, metals, okay? Gold or brass plates, chalices, carving or calling on the demons, the angels. You know, these powerful beings, going into glyphs, the Triangle of Solomon, for an example, okay? Remember what I said about the triangle of evocation? You're going to see various different degrees or different styles or interpretations of just this symbol. Okay. This is also known in today's witchcraft by Raven Silverwolf as being the triangle of alchemy, the alchemical change. Okay. And Silver Ravenwolf really goes into detail a little bit about this and how it can affect your own magic, your unique magical abilities. Okay. Which is very, very unique in itself. But while I was studying the 7 metals, okay, and I'm going to get into that right now, is and these are some pretty good sized metals. For example, ruthenium, okay, iridium, osmium, palladium, rhenium, as in Rhenium instead of the other spelling. Then you have silver and indium. Okay, these are the rarest metals out there, and in some cases, this could actually be compared to other 7 rarest metals, depending on the belief structure and the usage, because there are some of these very rare metals that are considered to be very explosive, things that are incorporated into today's technology, much like plutonium, or say, for an example, um, some form of gold, silver. For an example, if you go to Tractor Supply and pick up a salt block, the one thing you don't want to do with this one block, especially the sulfur block, salt block, is heat it up too hot because of the zincs. The zincs are a form of metal that is considered to be explosive. So you really have to take that in consideration and figure out how to melt it down and to separate it into its purest alchemical states. Okay. Some of the old ones, another variation is gold, platinum, osmium, iridium, palladium, ruthenium, and rhodium. Okay, so that's another variation of the 7 rarest metals. But then you can go and break it down into 3 types of metals that are most commonly used today: gold, silver, and bronze. You can compare these to the elements from earth, water, air, and fire. Okay, earth. Let me put it to you this way: Agrippa, in the 3 books of occult philosophy, wrote, "Earth becomes water and made solid again. Flames evaporate only to become air again. Earth, water, fire, air, earth, no matter what, or okay, is its basic components." Okay, and then he broke it down and he said, fire is hot and dry. 2 aspects. Okay, hot and dry. Earth is dry and cold. Water is cold and moist. Air is moist and hot. Okay, so right there you have 2 aspects. 1, the former, and 2, what's next. Okay, fire to water, earth to air. Okay, now if you look at today's modern day books on occult philosophies, such as modern day witchcraft, such as Wicca, the Wiccan Bible, for an example, you get into Green Witchcraft by Anne Mora, or AJ, what's her name there? AJ something. I can't remember her last name, but it's called the Wiccan Bible that she wrote, or he wrote. I'm not really sure if it's a male or a female, but anyways, you're going to see even Raven Silverwolf or Raymond Buckland. Okay, for an example, just a few examples, will sit there and show the direction, okay, be it inverted or verted, okay, pentagram wise, of how to banish or to cleanse with the utilization of a pentagram. Okay, how to charge a pentagram, how to operate the pentagram, what directions, be it clockwise or counterclockwise. Okay, you're going to see this stuff, but a lot of today's stuff is not taken seriously, and that's the point of this video, is to show you that in the old days they would have done anything to align themselves with the planetary figures, with these beings, these angels, these gods, these demons, and to gain that knowledge, to gain that magical abilities. Okay, whereas today it's treated more like a children's game. And you get on social media and you're going to see people as young as 6, 7 years old talking about vampirism and how they became a vampire. Okay, and it's just become a laughing joke. It's become a laughing game. It's become a joke, a mockery, much in the same way as the Church of Satan to the church itself. It's just taking that mockery to a whole new level. It's taking that stupidity. You got people that's believing into guys like John Ramirez, okay, who claims to, in one video, to be an ex-Satanist. And yet in another video, he claims to be an ex-Santeria practitioner and Palo Mayumbi practitioner, high priest no less. Okay? And he's sitting there trying to tell you what happens, what his life was like, even when he met his wife. Okay? How he went to a church and attacked a minister. Okay? I can tell you, I've gone to church. Okay? In fact, I don't mind the music. I actually enjoy the music. Some of the people there are pretty cool. But there's a lot of them that are complete dicks. And I will point that out to you, because some of them are just out there to put their weight in your face, to basically force their way onto you. You're either going to serve God or you're going to serve the devil. Okay? But what if I told you that true sorcery is not black or white? It's about rising above the normality, rising above humanity. Even Friedrich Nietzsche said it himself. Humanity is the, how do you put it? You need to surpass humanity. Basically meaning become better, evolve, rise above divisions, diversities, adversities. Don't limit yourself to a specific group. Master everything. Okay? And that's the one thing I respect about Friedrich Nietzsche's teachings. About Sun Tzu. Their teachings are very enlightening. But it also can apply to your magical abilities as well. Look at Alistair Notch, a very, very public figure, okay, in Satanism, especially that of theistic or spiritual Satanism. A guy that I actually respect, because not only does he respect Satan, but he respects the arts and the practices of how it is, not trying to be something that it's not. Okay, it's not about suing people over stupidity like abortions. It's not lowering yourself down to hound or badger somebody else. The only time I step out of the shadows and say, hey, this individual is doing this, well, this is because they've got a long line of people that they've hurt over the years. Okay? And I've spoken on a few of these individuals, but I've also used them as an example to teach others. My own apprentices, my own personal students have come a long way in their practices. Not only have they learned how to cast spells to utilize and capitalize on the benefits of what their goals are, but they've actually learned to leave a lot of that drama, all that chaos, and just get rid of it. You know, a lot of people on Facebook have come to me and said, I don't know how you do it. You don't get involved in drama. You don't get involved in chaos. And when it comes time for political, you don't stuff like the political campaigns, you don't even get involved. You just continue on, even when somebody attacks you. Well, then you got those few that have made the mistake of making it personal. And that's when I bring out my bag of specialities. Okay. And these people have paid the price for it. Literally, they have paid the price that is fitting to their works, to their actions. And that's the thing about black magic or any form of witchcraft. To know what was, to understand how things became what they are today. Don't accept things at face value, but instead go out, get the material, and do your own research. Delve into it. Don't take things at face value. Hell, don't settle for one style, tradition, or form, but try to master them all. Go out. Don't be afraid to step out of this shell and master Satanism, master witchcraft, master shamanism, master herbalism, master alchemy, master voodoo, hoodoo, whatever religion, path, style, tradition, whatever your belief system is, or what you as an individual believes in. Do it for you. Do the work and work hard and apply it to yourselves. And I guarantee it, people are going to take notice and they're going to flock to you. They're going to ask you things. They're going to come to you and ask questions about the arts. They're going to ask questions about what it is you do and what you believe in. But most importantly, they're going to talk to you about learning how to become a sorcerer, how to become a witch or a warlock, a wizard, a mage, a sage, whatever you want to call yourself for a title. That is what true witchcraft is. It's the alchemical change to manipulate the energies within and outside of yourself, to forge the elements. And each column, the 4 columns, with the 5th making up a brand new style, a high witchcraft versus low witchcraft. Okay? It's also known as high magic. Look into it and learn. And don't be afraid to ask questions. All right? Now, with that said, that's been this video on witchcraft, old versus new. I hope you learned something. I hope it's been enlightening. And feel free to get in touch with me. All right? I will always make myself available to you, and I will always get back to you. It may take some time because we all work. And on top of that, you've also got time zone differences. So take that in consideration and be patient, but I will get back to you and I will answer your questions. And if you want to set up a one-on-one meeting where we can talk over Messenger, or even set up a, say, for example, a time for an actual phone call, we can do that too. All right? With that said, I hope it's been inspirational, hope it's been enlightening, and I hope you check out the works that I recommended to you reference-wise. All right? Enjoy. This Dark Sorcerer is out.